If you're seeing these signs, you're no longer chasing money, you're becoming the kind of man money chases. And let me remind you, the man who is truly wealthy never leads with money. He leads with value, he leads with clarity, he leads with purpose, because he understands that wealth is not pursued, it is attracted. You attract wealth by becoming useful, by becoming reliable, by becoming excellent. Every time you increase your usefulness, your wealth potential multiplies. The world is full of people who want to be rich, but the world is built by people who are useful. Look at your habits now. If you're seeing these signs, it means your habits have begun to align with long-term gain rather than short-term gratification. You no longer eat just for pleasure, you eat for energy. You no longer sleep to escape, you rest to recover. You no longer scroll to pass time, you read to expand. These are not small things. These are indicators that your identity is shifting. And identity is the engine of wealth. When you change how you see yourself, you change what you allow. A poor man justifies bad habits. A rich man builds around discipline. Discipline is not a punishment, it is a privilege. Discipline protects your time. It protects your emotions. It protects your focus. Without it, nothing great can be sustained. With it, everything becomes possible. If your mornings are becoming more structured, your environment more intentional, your calendar more organized, it is no accident. It is the behavior of a man who is preparing for stewardship, not survival. You see, you can't carry wealth if you still think like a man trying to get by. You must begin to think like a man with legacy on his shoulders. The man with legacy doesn't waste time arguing. He doesn't chase cheap validation. He doesn't measure his worth by applause. He is grounded in principle. He understands that real wealth is not just about how much he earns. It's about how much he builds, how much he keeps, and how much he can pass on without the next generation having to start over. Another sign you're on the path to wealth. Your relationship with work has matured. You stopped asking for easy. You've stopped looking for shortcuts. You've stopped idolizing passive income without first becoming actively valuable. You understand that leverage only works when value is present. You now view hard work as a sacred process, not something to escape, but something to master. You no longer see your effort as a grind, you see it as a gateway. Because every repetition, every focused task, every hour of deliberate action compounds into competence. And competence is currency. Wealthy men are masters of something, not everything, but something. They commit, they refine, they simplify, and in that simplicity, they find power. You are no longer distracted by trends. You're not jumping from one idea to the next. You've chosen your vehicle. You've chosen your mission. And now you're digging deep, building depth, because surface-level effort produces surface-level results. But depth creates dominion. Another sign you're walking the path. You've learned to regulate your emotions. Where you once reacted, now you respond. Where you once panicked, now you pause. Where you once internalized everything, now you investigate. You understand that emotional intelligence is not weakness, it is a weapon. It allows you to move strategically when others are driven by impulse. It allows you to make decisions based on principle, not pressure. And that difference, that internal strength is what makes you a man who can lead, a man who can build, a man who can multiply. And multiplication is the key, not just of money, but of self. When you begin thinking in terms of multiplying your time, your skill, your vision, your message, your mind has entered the realm of wealth. Because wealthy minds don't just spend, they multiply. Poor minds only consume. They want the next thrill, the next fix, the next dopamine hit. Wealthy minds delay gratification in favor of multiplication. That's why you're studying instead of scrolling. That's why you're building systems instead of escaping stress. That's why you're investing your energy instead of draining it. You're starting to realize that every action you take is either an asset or a liability. Every habit either compounds for you or against you. And because you've seen this truth, you are beginning to make decisions from your future self, not your current feelings. This is the pivot that most never make. The moment when your vision becomes louder than your emotion, when your why outweighs your weakness, when you choose based on outcome, not comfort, that's not just growth, that's preparation for abundance. You are preparing now, not just with goals, but with structure. You've begun to track your inputs, you measure your energy, you audit your time, you track your spending, you track your behavior, not because you are obsessive, but because you are responsible. And responsibility is the foundation of freedom. The man who cannot be responsible cannot be rich. Because wealth will always flee a life of disorder, but wealth is drawn to discipline, to stewardship, to intentionality. Another sign you're on the path. Your self-talk has become stronger. You no longer beat yourself up for every mistake. You learn, you recalibrate, you speak life, you declare truth. You understand that you must lead yourself before you can lead anything else. And that leadership begins in the mirror. Every morning you choose the voice you follow. And now, you are choosing the voice of power. You are building yourself with language that empowers. That is not weakness, that is mastery. You no longer need hype. You've outgrown motivation without movement. You're no longer impressed by flashy lifestyles with no foundation. You respect consistency. You admire humility. You seek wisdom. You would rather be silent and successful than loud and empty. And that internal shift, that depth of character, is a magnet for lasting wealth. Let's talk about the unseen. If you're seeing these signs, you've likely become more sensitive to energy. You can feel when something is out of alignment. You can detect when a person's spirit doesn't match their words. You can sense when an opportunity isn't right, even if it looks good. That sensitivity is not weakness, it's discernment. It means your intuition is sharpening. And the wealthy man always trusts his gut, not out of emotion, but out of awareness. You are aware now, not paranoid, aware of your choices, of your patterns, of your blind spots. And that awareness gives you the power to adjust before the damage is done. That's what separates the man who keeps what he builds from the man who loses it. It's not intelligence, it's awareness. It's the humility to adapt, to ask better questions, to evolve when others become arrogant. If you are seeing this humility in yourself, you are on sacred ground. Because the path to wealth is sacred. It is not for everyone. It is not for the crowd. It is for the committed. The man who stays when it's hard, the man who decides when others delay, the man who sacrifices short-term approval for long-term abundance. That's you now. You don't just want more, you are becoming more. Your life may not reflect it fully yet. You may still be in the early stages. You may still be climbing, but inside you already know you are different now. Your mind is sharper. Your intentions are purer. Your behavior is bolder. You're no longer the same, and you're never going back. That is wealth. Not just having, becoming. And every sign you're seeing now is proof. You are becoming the kind of man who can handle wealth, manage wealth, multiply wealth, and pass on wealth, not just of money, but of mind. And that, my friend, is priceless. If you're still seeing the signs, and more importantly, if you're still living them, then let me tell you something few will say out loud. Wealth is no longer a possibility for you, it's an inevitability. Why? Because you've already become the kind of man wealth was designed to serve. You no longer need to chase riches like a beggar, hoping for a blessing. You've earned the right to expect prosperity not through entitlement but through alignment. Your thoughts, your decisions, your actions, and your standards now reflect abundance at the core. Look at the way you now treat your mornings, not as a rush of obligation, but as sacred ground. You rise with purpose, not panic. You prepare, not react. You lead your day instead of waiting to be led by it. And every day that begins in intention is a seed of wealth planted. Compound that intention over months, years, and decades, and no force in the world can stop what's coming to you. Wealth is not for the scattered, it flows to the deliberate. And you, my friend, have become a man of deliberate purpose. Even your goals have changed. Where once you chased status, now you pursue significance. Where once you wanted money to feel powerful, now you know power is the ability to be in control of yourself.